My sister, 34 years old, was in an hurtful relationship with her ex. Before that, she had another relationship with a guy who left when she got pregnant. She currently doesn't receive any child support. She has 3 children, and after she left, she didn't have anywhere to stay. My mom was also a single mom and doesn't have money to spare, but would have taken her in. My sister didn't want to go back to our hometown and begged us to take her in. We agreed to take her in for 6 months while she gets on her feet. She lived in our basement, which had its own bathroom and 2 bedrooms. I was really close with her growing up, but even I have to say she has damaged my marriage with my wife. Initially, my wife was understanding, but my sister kept saying she couldn't find work. My wife helped her with resumes and interview prep, but my sister didn't seem motivated to apply for jobs. She had a job at a cafe. My wife did all the legwork in applying for her, and the owner was desperate, so they hired her without any experience. She worked there for 2 months and then stopped showing up, saying she was sick of the work. She would forget to pick up the 2 eldest children from school, and my wife had to do it several times a week. This is when she wasn't working, so she had the time. She also would leave in the evenings and not tell my wife. One of the kids fell in the tub and was generally okay except for a bruise, but she blamed my wife even though no one knew she was out of the house. She was yelling at my wife that she should have been watching her kids. My wife told me if I let her stay past the 6 months, she would leave. Then my sister said she was pregnant and asked to stay until the baby came. We were shocked and demanded to know why she's having another child when she was essentially homeless. She didn't seem to think it was a big deal and said she had been seeing a guy on Facebook, and they met up for dates regularly. I told her she needs to leave as this is the end of our 6-month agreement. She was shocked we didn't agree because she is having a baby and accused my wife of poisoning against her. I told her it was because of her refusing to work and being irresponsible with her kids, and getting pregnant is the final straw. She is moving out to be with this new guy who agreed to take her in. The 2 older kids are going with our mom as he won't allow them to stay. I am afraid he will be hurtful like her ex, and I feel guilty her family is being torn apart. But she lived rent-free with us for 6 months and refused to help herself. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Even if she had not gotten pregnant, you are not the jerk, NTA, for asking her to leave at the 6 months, as per the agreement. She was already putting all of her responsibilities on you guys, and it is very likely that you would also be raising the new baby for her. She was taking advantage of your kindness massively, and then made another terrible decision. Comment 2. Not the idiot. You helped her out when she needed it, and she took advantage of you guys. She had no intention of finding a job, much less keeping it. It seems she likes to skate through life by depending on everyone else to do everything for her. She sounds very lazy and entitled, not to mention stupid, as she got pregnant again. Now, for the update. Hey everyone! Thanks for all the comments and support on my last post. It's been a tough week since my sister moved out, and I wanted to give you all an update on what's been happening. So, my sister moved in with this new guy she met on Facebook. At first, things seemed to be going okay. She was posting pictures of them together, looking happy and in love. But then, a few days ago, I got a call from her in the middle of the night. She was crying and said that he had hit her. I was shocked and angry, but I tried to stay calm and asked her what happened. Apparently, they had gotten into an argument about money. He had been paying for everything since she moved in, and he was starting to get frustrated that she wasn't contributing. She told him about the job at the cafe that she had quit, and he lost it. He started yelling at her, calling her lazy and ungrateful. Then he slapped her across the face. I told her to leave immediately and come stay with us again, but she refused. She said that she loved him, and that he had apologized and promised it would never happen again. I tried to reason with her, but she wouldn't listen. She hung up on me, and I haven't been able to get in touch with her since. I've been worried sick about her and the baby. I keep thinking about how history seems to be repeating itself. Our mom was in an hurtful relationship when we were kids, and I remember how scared and helpless I felt. I don't want my sister to go through the same thing, but I don't know how to help her if she won't let me. To make matters worse, my mom called me yesterday and told me that my sister's ex, the father of her 3 kids, had reached out to her. He said that he wanted to see the kids and be a part of their lives again. My mom was hesitant, but she agreed to let him come over for a supervised visit. When I found out, I was furious. This guy had put my sister through hell, and now he thinks he can just waltz back into their lives like nothing happened? I called my mom and told her that she needed to cancel the visit, but she said that she thought the kids deserved to have a relationship with their father. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My mom had always been so protective of us when we were growing up, and now she was willing to let this aggressor back into our lives. I tried to remind her of all the terrible things he had done, but she just kept saying that people can change and that everyone deserves a second chance. I hung up on her, feeling betrayed and alone. I didn't know who to turn to or what to do. I felt like I was the only one who saw the situation clearly, and everyone else was just enabling my sister's bad choices. But then, something unexpected happened. My wife, who had been listening to my conversations with my mom and sister, came up to me and gave me a hug. She told me that she was proud of me for standing up for what I believed in and that she would support me no matter what. She also reminded me of something that I had forgotten in the midst of all the chaos. She said that when my sister was living with us, she had confided in her about her past relationships. She told my wife that she had always been drawn to men who were controlling and hurtful because that's what she thought love was supposed to look like. My wife said that my sister needed to learn how to love herself before she could be in a healthy relationship. She suggested that we try to get her into therapy or a support group for survivors of domestic violence. I was skeptical at first, but the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. My sister had been through so much trauma in her life, and she had never really dealt with it. Maybe if she had someone to talk to and help her work through her issues, she would be able to break the cycle of abuse. So I called my sister again and left her a message. I told her that I loved her and that I was worried about her, but that I respected her choices. I also told her that if she ever needed help or wanted to talk, I would be there for her. It's been a few days since then, and I haven't heard back from her yet. But I'm hopeful that she'll reach out when she's ready. In the meantime, I'm trying to focus on what I can control. I'm being there for my mom and my sister's kids, and I'm working on my own mental health and my marriage. It's not easy, but I know that I'm doing the best I can, and that's all anyone can ask for. Thanks for reading, everyone. I'll keep you updated if anything changes. Am I the idiot for calling CPS on my brother and his wife after their neglect led to another child injury? Insight. My brother, 31 years old, and his wife, 36 years old, have 5 children, and she's pregnant again. They all live with my mother, 63 years old, in a 2-bedroom household. They don't help my mother with rent, electricity, water, Wi-Fi, or household supplies for that matter, and the house is constantly messy and stinky. My father works in various places for construction, and his wife stays home to take care of the kids. My brother and his wife don't care about what their kids do as long as they don't bother them. And the kids are constantly on their iPads from the moment they get home to when they go to bed. If the kids get hurt, there is no concern. They barely change the 3 youngest children's diapers, and they typically end up with blistering diaper rashes. They always dump their kids off with other people to go out of town like my mom and other older sisters. They're always eating takeout, junk food, and soda, to which I am concerned that their kids may have diabetes at this point. So, a couple years ago, I, 22 years old at the time, had gotten into an argument with my sister-in-law while my brother was away for work because her oldest son, 6 years old at the time, burned his hand from spilling hot cup noodles on himself due to not paying attention as he was watching his iPad. While he was screaming and kicking away, my mother and I ran to find that he had burned his upper body and left arm, and where was his mother? In the next room, not concerned about his screaming and crying, so I took his iPad away, and my sister-in-law came back out and gave it back to him, to which I took it away again, which started the argument as my sister-in-law was not concerned for her children. She had not taken her child to the hospital for a checkup. Fast forward to 2 weeks ago, my mother called me while I, 24 years old now, was away at school and told me that the youngest, 2 years old, was burned by another hot cup noodle incident on his face, upper body, and right arm by his older siblings. He suffered from second-degree burns and, again, no concern from his mother and father, and no hospital visit except Neosporin cream from my mother. A couple of days later, my mom called again and said that the youngest came home with a deep laceration and blood on his forehead. When my mother had questioned my sister-in-law, she stated that her son wasn't strapped in his car seat correctly, and when she was braking the vehicle, he flew forward and hit his head against the dashboard. No concern behind her voice, and again, no hospital visit. Until my older sister, 43 years old, had yelled at her 2 days later to take her son to the hospital to get checked. This isn't the first incident again where one of their kids flew forward and hit their head on the dashboard and needed a checkup. Would I be the jerk if I called CPS to have her kids taken away? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Is there a reason that you and your mom never took the badly burned child to the doctor or hospital, or even called emergency services? Y'all just sit there watching these kids being severely neglected for 2 years. TF, please call now. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Calling CPS isn't to have her kids taken away, but to have the situation evaluated. If it's a safe and healthy environment, they won't be taken. If it's not, they will be, and should be. You'd be doing absolutely nothing wrong. Now for the update. Hey there, thanks for reading my update. It's been a week since I last shared what's been going on with my brother, his wife, and their kids. I wish I could say things have improved, but unfortunately the situation has only escalated. A few days ago, my mom called me in a panic. She told me that my brother's second youngest child, who's just 3 years old, had fallen down the stairs. Apparently, the kids were playing unsupervised and no one noticed until they heard the child's cries. When my mom rushed over, she found the little one at the bottom of the stairs, holding his arm and sobbing uncontrollably. My sister-in-law was in the other room, completely unaware of what had happened. When my mom told her about the accident, she barely reacted. It was like she couldn't be bothered to check on her own child. My mom had to insist that they take the boy to the hospital, but my sister-in-law brushed it off, saying he was probably just overreacting. It took my mom threatening to call an ambulance herself before my sister-in-law finally agreed to take her son to the ER. Turns out the poor kid had fractured his arm in 2 places. He needed a cast and will have to wear it for at least 6 weeks. This incident really got me thinking about my brother and sister-in-law's parenting. I started to recall other times when they'd neglected their children's well-being. Like last year, when their oldest daughter got a severe case of the flu. She was running a high fever and could barely get out of bed, but my brother and his wife still sent her to school. They didn't want to deal with her being sick at home. And then there was the time their middle son got lost at the mall. He was only 4 years old at the time, and they hadn't been watching him closely. It took mall security over an hour to find him, and he was terrified. But my brother and sister-in-law seemed more annoyed at the inconvenience than concerned for their child's safety. As I reflected on these past incidents and the recent accident with my nephew, I realized I couldn't stay silent any longer. I knew I had to do something, but I was torn. On one hand, I didn't want to betray my brother and cause drama in the family, but on the other hand, I couldn't stand by and watch these kids suffer from neglect. After a lot of soul-searching, I made the difficult decision to contact CPS. I gathered all the evidence I could, including photos of the children's injuries and written accounts of the times I'd witnessed neglect. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, but I knew it was the right thing. When CPS showed up at my brother's house, all hell broke loose. My brother was furious and accused me of trying to ruin his life. My sister-in-law claimed I was just jealous of their family. But I stood my ground, knowing I'd done what was best for the kids. In the end, CPS placed the children in temporary foster care while my brother and his wife were investigated. It was heartbreaking to see the family torn apart, but I knew it was necessary to ensure the children's safety. The good news is, my brother and sister-in-law are now getting the help they need. They're attending parenting classes and working with a social worker to improve their home environment. The kids are thriving in their foster home and getting the attention and care they deserve. It's going to be a long road ahead, but I'm hopeful that this intervention will be a turning point for my brother's family. I'm just grateful I had the courage to speak up and advocate for those kids, even though it was incredibly difficult. Thanks for letting me share this update with you. It's been a tough week, but I'm feeling optimistic about the future. Am I the idiot for standing by my mom's will when my sister demands we split everything equally? My 29-year-old sister Hannah and I recently lost our mother after a long battle with cancer. It's been an emotional roller coaster, and we've been trying to support each other through the grief. However, the topic of inheritance has started to cause tension between us. Mom had a will that left the family home and a significant amount of money to me. Hannah received a smaller inheritance, including some sentimental items and a smaller sum of money. The reason for this, as explained by Mom in her will, is that I have been her primary caregiver for the past 5 years. while Hannah has been living her life in another city, rarely visiting or helping out. When the will was read, Hannah was visibly upset. She confronted me afterwards, saying it's unfair that I got more, and she feels entitled to half of everything. I explained to her that Mom made her decisions based on the care I provided and the sacrifices I made, including putting my career on hold and moving back home to take care of her. Hannah argued that I was being selfish and that Mom was unfairly biased towards me. She believes that as siblings, we should split everything equally, regardless of the circumstances. She has been calling me names and involving other family members who have mixed opinions on the matter. Some relatives think I should honor Hannah's request for the sake of family harmony, while others agree that Mom's wishes should be respected. I'm torn because I want to keep the peace, but I also feel that I deserve what Mom left me, considering the years of dedication and the financial impact it had on my life. Am I the idiot for telling my sister she's not entitled to my inheritance and for sticking to what Mom's will states? Edit. Thanks for all the responses and support on my last post. I wanted to provide an update on the situation with my sister, Hannah. After reading through the advice and comments, I decided to sit down with Hannah to try and have a calm conversation about the inheritance. I hoped that by explaining my perspective again, we might be able to find some common ground or at least come to an understanding. Unfortunately, the conversation did not go as I had hoped. As soon as I brought up the topic, Hannah became extremely defensive and hostile. She accused me of manipulating Mom into leaving me more and said that I had always been the favorite. She demanded that I give her half of everything immediately, or she would take legal action to contest the will. I tried to stay calm and explain that Mom's will reflected her appreciation for the care I provided and the sacrifices I made. I even suggested that we could find a compromise where I would give her a larger share of the cash inheritance than Mom had allocated. However, Hannah dismissed this offer outright, calling it crumbs and insisting she deserved half of everything, including the family home. She has also continued to involve other family members, spreading her narrative that I'm being greedy and selfish. Some relatives have reached out to me, expressing their disappointment and urging me to give in to her demands for the sake of family harmony. Others have been supportive, agreeing that Mom's wishes should be respected. The situation has become increasingly stressful and toxic. Hannah has even started threatening to go public with our family issues on social media, which feels like a betrayal of our private matters. I'm trying to stay strong and stick to what I believe is right, but it's hard when she's creating so much turmoil and dragging our family through the mud. At this point, I feel like I have no choice but to stand firm and honor Mom's wishes. I've consulted with a lawyer to ensure that everything is legally sound, and I'm prepared to defend Mom's decision if Hannah follows through with her threats. It's heartbreaking that things have come to this, especially when we should be supporting each other through our grief. I never wanted it to escalate this far, but I can't give in to Hannah's unreasonable demands. Thank you again for all the advice and support. It's been a tough journey, but knowing that others understand my perspective has been incredibly helpful. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot, and why does Hannah get to be selfish, not taking care of your mom, while expecting you to be selfless, giving your inheritance to her? I would not hide behind my mom. I would say this. Mom made choices in her will based on the choices you and I made. You have to live with the consequences of the choices you made not to support Mom when she was sick. I made a choice to sacrifice for Mom. I am now choosing not to sacrifice for you, who never made any sacrifice for me or our mother. Comment 2. Not the idiot finally reading a post where the parent actually shows how much they appreciate the person that was there for them. I agree that your mom's wishes should be respected. Why should you be the only one responsible for the sake of family harmony? Your sister is just as responsible for it. She is the one starting a fight with you over your mother's wishes and expecting you to go against them. Now for the update. Hey everyone, it's been a month since my last update and a lot has happened. I want to thank you all for your continued support during this difficult time. After my last post, I decided to take some time to reflect on the situation with Hannah and try to find a way forward. I reached out to a family therapist, hoping that a neutral third party could help us navigate this conflict and find a resolution. I invited Hannah to join me, but she initially refused, stating that she didn't need therapy and that I was the one with the problem. However, a week later, Hannah showed up at my door unexpectedly. She looked exhausted and had been crying. She confessed that she had been struggling with her mental health long before Mom's passing, and that the inheritance dispute had pushed her to a breaking point. She apologized for her behavior and admitted that she had been projecting her own insecurities and fears onto me. We had a long emotional conversation where we both opened up about our experiences and feelings. Hannah revealed that she had always felt inadequate compared to me, and that Mom's illness had only exacerbated those feelings. She had been jealous of the time I spent with Mom and felt guilty for not being there more. The inheritance had become a symbol of Mom's love and approval in her mind, and she had become fixated on it as a way to prove her worth. I listened to her with an open heart and shared my own struggles. I told her about the toll that caregiving had taken on me, both emotionally and financially. I explained that the inheritance was not about favoritism, but about Mom recognizing the sacrifices I had made. I also acknowledged that I could have communicated better with Hannah throughout the process, and apologized for not being more sensitive to her feelings. We both agreed to start attending therapy sessions together to work on our relationship and heal from the trauma of losing Mom. It hasn't been easy, but we've made progress in understanding and supporting each other. We've also started to go through Mom's belongings together, sharing memories and dividing sentimental items in a way that feels fair to both of us. In a bittersweet twist, we discovered a letter from Mom hidden among her things. In it, she expressed her love for both of us and her regret for not being able to spend more time with Hannah. She also explained that she had set aside a separate fund for Hannah's education, which she had never told anyone about. It was a reminder that Mom loved us both deeply and wanted the best for us. While the inheritance issue isn't fully resolved, we've agreed to put it on hold while we focus on our relationship and mental health. We're taking things one day at a time and learning to communicate more openly and honestly with each other. Looking back, I realize that this experience has taught me a lot about the importance of family, empathy, and self-care. It's easy to get caught up in the logistics of grief and loss, but at the end of the day, our relationships are what matter most. Thank you again for all your support and advice. It's been a challenging journey, but I'm hopeful that Hannah and I can come out of this stronger and more connected than ever. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day!